Hey everyone, back with a brand new show here today. Saw a wild claim on social media. I know social media making a wild claim, but when I see something, a big headline, I'm as susceptible as anybody. And so I say to myself, is this true? So here's the headline that caught my attention. A new study revealed that walking 3 miles per hour on a super incline of 16 to 18% burns 70% more calories than running on a flat surface. Okay, let me break this down. If I walk at 3 miles an hour on a 16 to 18% incline, I burn 70% more calories than running on a flat surface. So I said to myself, well, I teach high performance health. I teach anti-aging, integrative health. I need to see, is this actually true? So when I went in, the rest of the post said this, and then I'm going to share with you the research. What does it show? Walking on an incline engages more muscle groups, particularly in your legs and core, and propels you upwards. This increased muscle recruitment leads to a high calorie burn. The increased effort required to walk uphill elevates your heart rate more than walking on a flat surface, even at the same speed. Now again, they compared it to running. That's my first giveaway that there's not something quite right, because they referred to running. But anyway, let's keep going. This elevated heart rate is a sign of increased caloric expenditure and cardiovascular demand. That's true. Incline walking also increases the metabolic cost of the activity, meaning your body expends more energy to perform the same task the same distance. This is due to the added challenge of working against gravity. While running may burn more calories, incline walking tends to burn a much higher percentage of fat as fuel compared to running, making it a great option if you're focused on fat loss specifically. All right, well, that's true. You will burn a greater percentage of fat walking versus running. Now let's actually see if this is backed up by clinical science. So this is important because everything you read on social media, there is actually bits of truth oftentimes. Like in that article, there is bits of truth. The headline got me to say, whoa, I can burn 70% more fat. Let's check this out. Okay, so the study that they were citing, because they actually gave the study. And I said, great, they gave the study. Amazing. Now I can go and actually see, is this true? So the study goes back to 2012, and it looked at muscle activation patterns. Let me get you the study itself. I'm going to link it up at stephencabral.com/3498. That's where the big takeaways from today's show is, because there are takeaways. It's just not true what they stated. So the study is called Predicting the Metabolic Cost of Incline Walking from Muscle Activity and Walking Mechanics. All right. So that's the name of it. Kind of, a boring study name. That's okay. Studies are meant to be boring. What I like to do is hopefully make it somewhat interesting. So here's what it looked at. It looked at incline walking at 0%, 5%, and 10% grade. All right. So they said super inclines of 16 to 18%. And they quoted a study that has nothing to do with 16 to 18%. I'll tell you how I think they got there in just a moment. Okay, so it does not compare also the steep incline running that they're talking about to running on flat surfaces. What does it look at? Let's look at that. All right, so what evidence is actually there that we should use? A 5% incline, which most treadmills do, burns about 17% more calories. So this is legitimate, like that part is true. And again, we use incline walking in my practice, especially for people who don't run. We just do incline walking. It's a great thing to do, even for the bones. It's not like the best thing to do for osteoporosis, osteopenia, for bone loss as you get older, but it's a great thing to do for sure. And you can even wear a light-weighted vest. You don't need to wear a heavy one, 5 pounds, 10-pound weighted vest. Don't worry about the 40-pound. You can go in the lighter because you don't want to change your form, all right? All right, and then 10% incline, which most treadmills top out at about 10%. I bought this. I always tell myself that if you run for a year, you can get yourself a little something nice. And that nice thing is this crazy treadmill that I bought that does I don't even want to talk about the incline, a massive incline, like you're scaling a mountain, right? And do I use it to scale a mountain? No, but I do like that incline that actually goes past 10. Most treadmills, 10 to 12 of an incline, some 15. But here's the thing, at a 10% incline, it burns 32% more calories. And so the estimate is basically 1% incline can burn 12% more calories compared to flat walking. There are limits to this, of course, because as you see, at 10%, it raised it to 32. So the estimate is essentially off. Think about this. If you put a 10-degree incline, you're going to burn about a third more calories. That's significant. I mean, that's enough. You don't need to come up with outrageous claims. You can just say a 10% incline burns about 32% more calories. However, that is based on walking to walking on a flat surface, not based on running. Let's get into the running now. So there was a recent study. It's different. They didn't quote this one. The 12-3-30 study. What does that even mean? It looked at walking at 3 miles an hour at a 12% incline for about 30 minutes. What did it find? Running burned about 13 calories per minute, and incline walking burned about 10 calories per minute. So now we know right out of the gates, their quote was, study reveals walking at 3 miles an hour, which is fine. It's a good mile per hour pace. I love that. 16 to 18%, most treadmills don't do that, burn 70% more calories than running on a flat surface. Wrong, right? Right away we know it's wrong because it has to be walking to running because running does burn more calories, okay? Doesn't mean the percentage from fat is as great, but certainly it burns more calories because just like they stated in their wording that there's more mechanical effort needed to run than walk. That kind of makes sense, right? What you get fatigued faster doing what? Running or walking? Running, right? Because it takes more mechanical effort. Do you get fatigued faster if you were to bike at, like, just say all things were even in terms of effort? Biking or running? What do you fatigue faster? Running than biking for most people if you're untrained. Why? Because running is just way more mechanical effort. You're literally essentially running, and if you don't have proper form, especially, you're braking, you're running, you're braking, like every time you land. Different than on a bike where momentum is somewhat carrying you as well. Again, elliptical, much easier than running for most people. So running burns more calories. However, incline walking is really close to the same, and incline walking beats flat walking. And if we just go back to that stat, 17% more at 5% incline, about a third more calories, 33%, 32% technically at 10%. So that's a great thing. But incline walking from this study burned a higher percentage of calories from fat, about 40 to 41% from fat versus 33% for running. So 12% incline run or a 12% incline walk. The run was flat, incline walk, and here's what it showed. It burned about, 7 to 8% more calories from fat as a percentage than when you were incline walking than running. Because as your heart rate gets higher, you burn less of a percentage from fat, but you burn more total calories. So often in the end, you actually burn more, and put this in air quotes, fat, because you're burning more total calories. Not always. So if you can't run, don't feel bad. Like, you can literally do incline walking, and you don't need to incline walk the whole time. You could incline for a minute, decline for 1 to 3 minutes, incline for a minute. Like, you can go back and forth, and that's totally fine. That is one of the reasons why investing in a treadmill or, investing in a gym membership, there are a lot of benefits from that. So I'm going to keep it at that for today. And what I would say is this, is that usually with what we read online, not always, but a reputable, source, there's truth to what they're saying, but social media has become so sensationalistic that it's not as exciting to say burn 17% more calories at a 5-degree incline. Like, well, that's pretty phenomenal, right? Or burn 33%, a third more calories at 10%. Like, that's exciting, but that's the truth. So if you're looking to burn more, incline walking at 10% versus flat walking is going to burn 33% more calories, which is amazing. And if you want to compare flat running to incline walking, running is going to burn more calories, but the incline walking is probably going to burn somewhere between 7 to 8% more percentage from body fat. So both of them can be fantastic. Running isn't necessarily better than walking. Walking isn't necessarily better than running. What they allow you to do is two different things. Walking, you'll be able to stay in zone 2. If you're not trained, it's going to be hard to run and stay in zone 2. I think you can do both, to be honest with you. But hopefully this kind of sets it all straight. I will link up, not the social media post, but I'll link up the actual clinical research at stephencabral.com/3498. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you're able to pick up some knowledge here. Always feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.